What is the most commonest you have come across when it comes to mindfulness, when it comes to the mind in the
Mhm,
marketplace? Which
mhm.
has been the most commonest challenging point for you?
I would say actually the buy-in process itself. Because if somebody believes that they need to upskill themselves, they need to actually, in other words, being aware that, hey, in order for me to perform better, for whatever reason, maybe for my own likelihood to earn more income, if they can be aware of that to get a buy-in internally, that itself launch you to the next level of
Okay,
competency. That,
okay. Let me
yeah,
stop you there. Buying into the concept.
that's right.
I think
Buying
you're
into,
yeah, perfect. I mean, I
buying,
think you're right. Buying into that whole concept that they can move to another level. Is that right?
exactly. So we have people who are sent for corporate training programs. They are sitting there, they are listening, they are saying that, oh, okay, I agree with you and all that. But at the back of the mind, the so-called subconscious mind is saying that, okay, I'm here just to fulfill my KPI, my training KPI.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
So,
yeah, well, this is
and
what I got. I got a moving signboard here that says, "Why aren't
oh,
people working smarter?" You see, because when you
yeah,
work smart, you live smart, you produce smart.
true. Yeah.
And yeah. So, what's the cause of it? Is it
And
because of just lack of just sheer laziness or what?
it is, no, you see, I look at laziness as a byproduct. It is not the main characteristics of people. We need to understand why people are lazy. So why people become lazy? Because a belief system. They believe there's no purpose for me to pick up that plate or for me to do something. Therefore, it is a secondary nature. I become lazy.
Right.
Why they are not doing something is because belief system again. They believe it is not necessary. So we need to invoke it again. Is back to culture again. So we need to invoke the culture of performing at a higher level, whether it's through fear or whether it's through showing that the rewards of it, there are many approaches. But we need to invoke into people that, hey, we need to go at a higher level, get a buy-in, and then they themselves will drive. So rather than push factor, we use the pull factor.
Absolutely.
Just
Absolutely.
like some of the doors, I believe some of the doors in your clinic, they open inwardly. The more you push, the more it will not open.
Right.
The
Right. Right.
the heart to the door opens inwardly.
Before we start, let me read these words. The poet and philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson said these words: "Once do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail." That's what we should be all doing. Trailblazers. My guest today is a trailblazer. Trailblazers are the ones who actively inspire the soul to pursue a higher form of existence. One of the greatest gifts in life is the ability to earn, the ability to work. And I'm amazed at the number of master classes and the number of people who are teaching about working less so that they can achieve more. No, you need to be able to work efficiently so that we're able to produce better and move to a higher place and form of existence. That should be the vision for everyone who works in the marketplace. My guest today is a trailblazer, he's a fire walker, he's a glass walker, and he's yet to walk on water. But you'll be amazed at what he's about to tell us. He's an international transformational trainer, and his name is Dr. Harjit Sidhu. He's from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. He is a certified chartered accountant by training and has served in the marketplace for 18 years, serving several corporations. And this wealth of corporate experience became the groundwork of his journey as a corporate trainer and a business coach for about 17 years in the fields of mindful leadership, neuro-linguistic programming, emotional intelligence, hypnotherapy, mindset, and motivation. Now he's got a signature program, and it's called the BMW program, where anyone, including you and me, can drive and we can own this BMW. It's not about the car, but it's about the body mind wiring program that has succeeded in transforming individuals in the marketplace. So in short, as far as I'm concerned, he's a neuroelectrician. He rewires our brains, and today he's going to teach us more on how to get into the mind of yours and mine. So join me to welcome Dr. Harjit Sidhu. Come in, Harjit.
Hello, good afternoon, Charles.
Hey, Harjit, welcome, and thank you very much for joining us on Heart Talk. Great to see you.
Great to see you too. Truly my pleasure.
Yeah, and you know, when I look at you and I think about you, I get worried, man, because the next thing is you'll be getting into my mind. And but let me just start by saying this. I want to congratulate you on the years of work that you've put into this whole program, of what you're bringing, a blessing and a really, a new mind flow into the lives of many people working in the marketplace. We take for granted that every time you do a training course and every time you do a program, the amount of lives that can actually catch on and move to a higher level of existence and performance. And I think it's all about the mindset. At the end of the day, we have a program called MindFlow Ergonomics. When you say mindset, it's as if your mind is already set like a piece of cake. But what you are bringing out into the marketplace, into every individual, is that there is more to come. It's not enough. There's more in us. And how can we go into a different level? You know, I've got this whole theme, Harjit, where it's about transforming outstanding individuals and intellectuals to become, creative geniuses. So we have a genie inside all of us.
That's right.
All we need somebody like you to come and rub it in.
I like the word rub it in, yeah?
Rub it in and get that brain to work and get that genie out, and then, it's all ready. Now, let me just take you back. You did a fantastic transition in your life, and that is from marketplace as an accountant, dealing with finance, and then you moved into the world of the mind. Why did that take place?
Okay, interesting question, because a lot of people have been asking me this even during some of the coaching programs. When they look at my background, they say, "Hey, you are a person from the technical side of the mind, and then you are jumping on the other side of the mind or the brain." So what happened is, in the early part of my life, of course, we all tend to take certain studies, certain courses that that suits our ambitions. I still love finance, because the whole world of finance is totally as intriguing as the mind itself. But along the way, the journey of life sometimes takes you to another direction which you never thought. So what happened when I was working in the corporates, which especially the last multinational company, this corporation, fantastic, everything was good and all that, but I had to make a big jump into the world of corporate training and coaching, because I was exposed to one fantastic individual. Everybody knows him, Anthony Robbins.
Sure.
So I attended his program, UPW in Singapore, Unleash the Power Within. At that juncture, I was at the crossroad, trying to figure out, hey, what's the whole direction of life going to be and all that. So it was a powerful program. And what happened was, I was mesmerized by the techniques and the ability of him to handle about 4,000 or 5,000 people in the indoor stadium. So I went back and did my studies about his background, about Tony Robbins and all that. That's where the first time I came across the term NLP. I've never heard of NLP before. So I started digging and digging.
NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, right?
Programming, that's right.
Okay.
And throughout the research, I found out that, hey, this is what I've been looking for, something that intrigues the mind. Even before that, as a teenager, I was always dabbling in a lot of this mind science, pseudoscience, whatever you want to call it. Labeling is, putting aside of it. For example, I went into crazy studies of Aleister Crowley. If people want to say occult studies, so be it. And C.G. Young, and all these people were actually dealing a lot about the mind. So I was exposed to a lot of these studies even as a teenager. And boom, Tony Robbins came in and I said, okay, I need to go into what is NLP all about. That's where the journey started. I went deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. Took up my NLP certification, took up my NLP mastery as a coach and became an NLP trainer. And I said, not enough. Let's go further, deeper. Let's go into hypnosis. Because I always wondered, is whatever Hollywood is portraying, is it true or not? You know, can you just snap a finger and somebody goes into
David Copperfield, you know.
Oh, yeah, something like that. or David Blaine or something. And I found out that don't believe Hollywood too much. You know, they tend to over-exaggerate everything. And also a lot of videos on YouTube. Sorry to say that 70% of hypnosis or hypnotherapy, a lot of fake videos out there. Because what I discovered, hypnosis is much, much more interesting and much more different than what they portray.
Okay, we will get to that in the later part before you start hypnotizing me, and then I go into I will go into a sphere of meditation, and you know I lose track where I am, right?
Okay.
But this is powerful because you know many times in the marketplace. I mean, I've been a doctor for 40 years now, and as a plastic surgeon for 35 to 38, and I've never been for any conference in my life other than medical conferences. So you see, even as doctors, we all live and work in this very narrow lane of mindset. And we forget that there's another world out there. Like you dabbled with all the other stuff when you were young as a teenager. For me, there was no other dabbling. It was all about medicine, medicine, medicine. And my only non-medical conference that I've been to was one called Millionaire Mind Intensive by Harv Eker. And you know, and I learned some 6 jars about how to look after your money and all that. And then I came back, pasted it on the wall, and it's still pasted on the wall with no jars. Okay. And that clearly shows that the stumbling block in all of us is me against me. It's I against I. You know, we can learn all the programs and the techniques. The end of the day is how do you get that mind to work? And be friends with the mind. So congratulations for that, because that transition to what you're doing now is creating waves. Okay, and so while you were in the marketplace, there must be something that you saw in the marketplace as a corporate man in finance to realize that people need to work smarter, man. There must be a smarter way of working. I realized that after 40 years in the marketplace, no nonsense. I can go for all sorts of talks and all that and come back as a better doctor, but I'm not a better person. I didn't know how to handle my emotions.
Right.
I didn't know how to handle my mind. So this is part of life's journey as a marketplace entrepreneur, is how do we have, instead of a compartmentalized life, and have an integrated life, where we're able to tap into all the faculties that God has given us. So let's go deeper now. Now you're taking me onto a journey, right? And
Deeper into the rabbit hole, yeah?
deeper into the rabbit hole. But I'm going to be very practical. I mean, as surgeons, we're all very practical, and you have the gift of knowledge of how to handle the brain. Now, how do you train the brain, even for yourself? You know, they're talking about rebooting, recharging, and rewiring. You know, I take my phone. When I bought my new phone, the girl was telling me, doctor, every day make sure you put it off and recharge. I mean, restart, get the whole thing going again. So how do you handle the brain and the mind every day?
It's interesting, your last statement, how do we handle the brain and the mind? Let me just start off by asking, you know, a question which is a lot of people have been asking, what's the difference between the brain and the mind? Because we tend to think that a brain is a certain locality, and where's the mind? So, you know, and then they start searching on Google, hey, what exactly is the mind? Is the mind part of the brain and all that? Basically, the mind is our entire being. It's like describing a car. The car is the engine, but the entire car, including the driver, the sensors, the ability of the car to move, is actually the mind. So I'm more interested about hacking the entire being. which is the mind, including the senses. There are techniques actually, which is, you see all the different concepts about emotional intelligence, mindfulness, motivation, hacking the mind and all that. They are sort of like interrelated. For example, when people talk about mindfulness, it's more than a concept because it sounds very boring. Hey, somebody will tell you, hey, Harjit, be mindful, be mindful. Yeah, you feel like smacking them on the, wherever it is telling them, yeah, I know I need to be mindful, but how do I do that, isn't it? Is there any techniques that I need to be mindful about what exactly I'm doing? So here comes self-realization. And we know self-realization is one of the pillars of emotional intelligence. So if you look at mindfulness, EQ, which is emotional intelligence, you talk about Tony Robbins or NLP techniques about how to jumpstart yourself. These are all interrelated. So back to the question you're asking me, how do I actually sort of like boost up our mind? How do we actually jumpstart ourselves? Just like a car, you jumpstart your battery, you also can jumpstart yourself. Some of it is
Yeah,
true.
but is this something that you do every day before the day starts, like rebooting oneself?
Every moment, I will say.
Okay, so that's mindfulness, because mindfulness is actually the power of in the present
That's right.
moment, paying
Correct.
attention more. So you're talking about rebooting. By the time you end of the day, your charge, your battery is gone, man.
Yeah, exactly. That is why we have to actually reboot every moment. We have to reframe our mindset every moment. It's not just in the morning, because by afternoon, somebody would have downgraded you, somebody have really put you down. You need those techniques. So I'm more interested of the how and of the how of the modus operandi of the mind. How does it elicit certain change in the behavior? Why do certain things behave in a certain way? And why do, in the same environment, same situation, other people behave differently? So that brought up my curiosity. And NLP techniques really help that, because NLP techniques are not just theoretical stuff, just not lecturing you about it. Those are real hardcore techniques. For example, creating switches in you. Like now in your clinic, you have switches for your air condition, your lighting, and other stuff and all that. We can also create switches in ourselves to invoke our mindset from a certain frame of mind into a different mindset. So those are real techniques,
How
right?
do you do that?
One technique is called anchoring. We anchor ourselves. So it's a process where we built up our senses, because just imagine, doctor, that now itself you can feel sad thinking about something that happened yesterday or a couple of years ago, true? Certain event, or maybe one of your patients gave a negative remarks to anybody, to yourself, and that brought you down. You notice the mindset was triggered because of certain words or certain action by somebody, right? Using the same modus operandi, we can also use it for positive intention. So we have a certain locks, we have a certain way of locking your emotions to a certain trigger. We call it trigger.
Correct.
So if I invoke that trigger, immediately the mind can be tricked to go into that state of mind. Just like the mind habitually, the bad news is that most of the time we dwell on the negative side. Welcome, Darth Vader. Welcome to the dark side of the Force.
Yeah, because the brain is wired for negativity, man.
Exactly. We are always, and that's a good purpose for it. Our mind is always in the negative mode. Why? For one reason, safety, survival.
Correct.
Because if you see one person walking towards you, more than often we are thinking of negative things, right? Hey, why this guy is coming towards me? Is he going to borrow money? Is he going to bash me up? Nothing positive.
Right, right.
Right? So that's necessary for survival. But we use the same technology of the mind. Hey, why not we tweak it? We trick the mind towards positivity, towards enhancing our performance.
Right.
And our physical performance in whatever competency that we are looking at all comes back to the mind. If the mind don't believe you are able to do it, you can send a person to all the trainings in the world. They will never be at a higher competent level, isn't it?
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's powerful, Harjit. Now,
Mhm.
the other thing that, the other day I walked into my clinic and I got triggered off by something that I saw.
Mhm.
And I was happened to be walking in to do my podcast with Professor Selena Bartlett, who is a neuroscientist.
Yeah.
Now, This is fascinating. This is about metacognition, thinking
Mhm.
about what you're thinking. It's like being in a traffic light
Yeah.
and it's red and you want to cross over, but there's an orange light to think first before you walk over and make sure that you can still have a fella driving and whack you down thinking it's still green. So this
Yeah.
this concept of you
Mm,
started to talk about it, and that is about thoughts. You see, our thoughts, they create energy, to think,
mm.
thinking process, right? And when you put all the thoughts as a constellation, it becomes a narrative.
Yeah.
So those narratives can sometimes be negative, and those narratives that we build up can be positive. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
That's right.
what's the difference between thoughts and emotions?
Oh, fantastic. I love that question. I usually ask this in one of my programs also, which comes first,
Right.
thoughts or emotion? So let's say a scenario is you're walking down a back lane and a stray dog is coming towards you. Of course, fear comes in, right? Emotion comes in. But what comes in first? Does the thought of the dog comes in first or the emotion? So most people, they say because emotion is so spontaneous, they tend to say no, emotion comes in first. The fear comes first. Or maybe, you love the dog or anything. And then only the thoughts. But what actually drives emotion is your thoughts regarding the dog. So actually thoughts comes in first. It's actually, I would say emotion is a secondary nature of the mind. So what your opinion, what are your thoughts regarding the dogs will decide your emotions that's going to be happening after that. If somebody had a previous bad experience with a dog being bitten by a stray dog before, immediately the thought in the mind is that all dogs are dangerous. Immediately the emotions of hatred, anger, and fear comes in. But if somebody have the vice versa, of course the emotion is going to be the vice versa also. But that is the good news. The good news why the thoughts comes in first and then the emotion is that if we can rewire the thoughts, we rewire our emotions. Isn't that wonderful?
Fantastic. Yeah.
Isn't that
But
what emotional intelligence is all about?
right. So when you talk about emotions,
Yeah,
it involves the body as well because it is a state. Like for example, if I'm sad, you
yeah,
will look at me and you know I'm sad. I don't have to say anything. You see, so
e-
emotions would be both mind and body.
exactly.
And thoughts are just like I look at it as a vocal inner voice, yeah, the thought life,
That's right.
and
That's right.
so that this balance is important. So how do you manage? It's just like another podcast lady, interesting woman, and she was talking about emotions and all that, and said we can control them and manage them, which I'm going to ask you now. And she said,
Mhm.
your child is screaming, just say it's okay, it's okay. In the Asian culture, you will raise our hand and say, stop her. You know what I mean? In Asian culture, Addi, I will stop and don't make any noise, that kind of thing, right? So the culture also comes in how you manage, So I want to ask
Yeah.
you, because what I never got a good grasp of
Mhm.
was managing emotions. So now we know that what you're saying is that the thought life is there, the emotions also involve the body, and we can manage them. Because if you can manage emotions, you are taking control of the mind, because the thought
Mhm.
life starts from the mind, right?
Yeah,
So, how do you manage emotions, especially in the
emotion.
marketplace, in the workplace?
Yep, yep. It's a very nice statement that you mentioned that how do we manage emotion? A lot of people tend to say, I want to control emotions. So I say, guys, actually, you're not able to control emotion because controlling emotions is you're suppressing your emotions. Because when I
Right.
say control, I've got this water in this cup and I'm controlling the water, I'm suppressing it. It's within my control. But if you were to control anger, you know what happens? If I were to suppress my anger in office, on the way back home, something is going to trigger me and I'm going to let go all my anger, my lava on the road. Or nothing happens on the road, I'm going to release all the anger back at home. So the key word is actually managing emotions, not controlling emotions.
Right.
So back to the question now, how do we manage emotions? There are techniques, which is some of it is mindfulness. Mindfulness also about being present now, rather than anticipating about the future, worrying about the future. So I know a lot of people start thinking now, oh, okay, being present now, focusing at the now, being aware what exactly is happening in your mind. That sounds like meditation. But sorry to say that it is the gist of meditation. all essence of meditation is being mindful. Can you imagine sitting down and doing meditation, but your mind is running all over the place in the world?
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
So number one is being aware. Being aware exactly what's happening in your entire being, right? So whether somebody is screaming at you, somebody is throwing something at you, whether your boss is screaming at you in the office and all that, the first thing we do is, hey, am I aware of what emotions that is being registered in my mind? Am I being aware of what exactly I'm feeling at the moment? Am I being aware of what course of action I'm about to take the next? Just being aware of that itself is being mindful and the first step towards managing the emotion. The next step, of course, is what we call in NLP reframing your thoughts. Reframing means looking at that particular situation or the incident from a different perspective, because you might never know that if you are able to look at things from a different perspective, your mind follows. So the thoughts, your emotions, they're all sort of like a chain of reaction. So what I practice every day in order to manage my emotion, I always, something like the people will say, hey, give benefit to the doubts.
Mm.
So start thinking, hey, there might be more than meets the eye. That itself is a sort of like a reframing, right? Like people say, hey, without rain, there's no rainbow.
Right.
So let's look at things from a different perspective.
Right.
So those are the things that I actually apply in order to sort of like manage the emotions.
So how do you handle a situation and take, well, you have to use the word control here, when you're
Mm.
really charged up, you're raging and you don't want your amygdala to take over and start firing before the bullets, before you got bullets in the gun, you know what I mean? I find that handling those kind of situations is excellent in the marketplace because
Yeah.
the control, some people are fantastic, they know how to control, and I think you must be having a lot of techniques in your toolbox on how to keep the amygdala in check, so that we don't have the chemicals and the hormones firing away, and
Yeah.
because there'll be collateral damage in every place.
Yeah.
And,
Exactly.
and I think that's
Exactly.
one of the reasons why people who are suppressive,
Mm.
keeping it down, burn out fast.
True.
True?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Not only burn out fast, they tend to explode, right? Then, for example, if we're talking about anger, they tend to explode because we are all human beings. We tend to express emotions differently. Some of us might have a delayed effect, some of us immediate trigger. So we tend to explode at the wrong place, and after that we feel sorry. Hey, why did I explode? Why did I say a certain thing to that person and all that? So rather than reframing the mind and finding out, hey, can I look at a situation from a different perspective, right? So it's a continuous effort again. So the first thing, of course, like I say, we have to know the technique. And many of us actually we know how to do reframing. Only thing, over the years, over the time, we tend to get lazy with it. We say, what's the point of reframing? Let's just react towards it rather than responding. Yeah.
Right, right,
The other
right.
thing I just want to explore with you, Doctor, is that there's a certain component in our brain which is called the RAS. It is called
Reticular activating system.
Yes, exactly. That is
Yeah.
actually the genie which is sitting in our mind. And that genie is waiting for command, instruction. Whatever story that we been told in Aladdin in the magic lamp actually strongly reflects what goes on in our mind. Example, when in the Aladdin story, when he rubbed the lamp, the genie appeared, and the genie, grant you 3 wishes and all that. So we are told that Aladdin have to be specific about what he wants from the genie, because the genie doesn't understand what exactly you want. So being specific, the smart methodology, blah, blah, and all that. So the reticular activating system is able to invoke the genie through repetition. That's
Right.
one thing. If we habitually practice the mindfulness and all that, it becomes part of the genie, and it actually becomes part of the RAS, reticular activating system. So the next time somebody provoke you emotionally or some event happen, you're able to maintain the calmness. You're able to look at things from a different perspective. That is the amazing thing about the RAS.
Right.
So if we look at some of the Tony Robbins wordings, or even Franklin Covey wordings, let me try to recall some. Tony Robbins said the power of visualization. You start visualizing yourself, managing the situations as being calm. Or Franklin Covey said, one of the habits is begin with the end in the mind. All these, I believe, are actually connected to managing the emotions, managing the brain also.
No, this is powerful. Yeah, because when I stepped into this whole world of mindfulness, and I had the first Asia Pacific consultation on mindfulness, and people are wondering what a plastic surgeon doing about marketplace mindfulness. And then I said, this is the first in the Asia Pacific because I didn't know where the hell my mind was for 40 years.
Yeah,
And so I only knew that I could just do a boob job, do a tummy tuck, and that's it. That my mind, it was all in my mind. But I realized that for me to be more effective as an individual, both
hmm,
personally at home and in the marketplace, I needed to step myself up into a bigger and better platform, and
yes,
that's where mindfulness came in. And of
correct.
course, for me, is the M&M formula, which is manifestation, because you can't live from your head.
That's
You,
right.
you live from your heart, because that's where the wellspring of life flows from, and that's
Yeah,
manifestation.
yeah,
And so, you know, there's so much about the self today. I mean, everything is about the self.
yeah.
11 years ago, I had open heart surgery, Harjit. And
Mhm.
the first thing that the psychologist told me was, Charles, be kind to yourself. And I was wondering, what the hell is she talking about? So I just went and had a beer and came back. I thought that was being kind to
That
myself,
was being kind. Yeah,
yeah, being
exactly.
kind. But but actually, that was, if I had caught that 11 years ago, self-compassion, you know, and I want you to talk to me and talk to all of us about, I've got laser machines here, and once a month we self-calibrate them. I take the firing and put it in, and then it calibrates itself. Now,
Mhm.
these must be techniques that lead ultimately to mastering of the self.
That's right. That's right.
So, talk to us about how do you self-calibrate oneself? Is it the
You are,
same?
you are,
Yeah,
yes, you are using all the right terminologies today. Calibration of the mind. That's right. Just like equipment needs to be calibrated, we need to calibrate our mind as often as possible, right? So there are techniques, very simple techniques. It doesn't involve complex equipment or techniques and all that. Like, for example, calibrating the mind, one of it is that being aware of your senses, being aware exactly the temperature of the room, being aware, hey, am I feeling cold? Am I feeling warm? Don't be surprised. A lot of people are not aware of that. They're just living, they're just passing from one moment to another moment. Being aware of what's happening within your mind, what emotion is being triggered, being aware of the sensations, being aware of your breathing, and what else? Being aware of the sound that is playing in your ears at the moment. Some people, when I told them, I say, hey, listen to that song. Can you hear the guitar playing? Some of them will ask me, what do you mean by guitar? I hear
right,
the entire song. I
right.
can't hear the guitar. So being
Yes,
aware of the tiny, tiny things in the whole universe is actually part of calibration.
powerful.
And that's right. So, and when you move deeper and deeper, once you're able to be aware of all these things that are going on around you, then I take one step further. I say, now try to visualize yourself being aware, looking at yourself from a distance, being aware of what exactly the thoughts playing in your mind. So that is like sort of like, whether you want to call it astral projection, out of body experience, whatever it is, I'm not interested in the jargons. Just looking at yourself from a distance and say, hey, am I being aware of the entire being? What is going on with this particular person named Harjit? Are we aware of what's going on inside it? That itself is a powerful exercise on mindfulness.
Mm,
So it is just an awareness, just being aware of what exactly. That itself is grounding.
right.
That itself calibration, that itself is a grounding, just like our wiring, our wiring in the
Yes,
earth,
got to
in
earth.
earth wire. We need earthing, we need grounding of ourselves. Simple techniques, lying down on the grass itself, you'll be surprised. It is actually grounding yourself. It is actually letting Mother Earth absorbing all the negative energy. It might sound like something like metaphysical and all that, but believe me, try it out. The taste lies in the pudding. The taste like in eating the pudding, not just observing it.
Absolutely.
Go and lie down on the ground, go to the nearest beach rather than, put away your laptop, put away your gadgets, enjoy the beach, lie down on the beach. That itself is calibration, grounding itself.
Fantastic.
So,
You make the technical term so alive because sometimes we do it, we don't know we are calibrating ourselves, you see.
yeah,
And the yeah, because when you put all these facets together, right,
yeah.
it's a beautiful life to live.
Beautiful. Life is
You
to be
see,
enjoyed.
and it's the people that mess it up.
Yep.
So, and you have to interact with people, and if you don't have people having the same vibes,
Yeah.
then you can't thrive, man. It's a question about survival, and everybody's trying, especially now post COVID. You will find that there is now the survival and greed that is coming out
Hmm.
into the marketplace. You
That's
see,
right.
they don't care about the employer. It's just about what can I get out of this person to make ends meet because I lost 2 years of income.
Yes.
And so empathy and all these things are part and parcel of this whole concept of
True.
mindful living, as you put it. Uh,
And one interesting thing is that, Dr. Charles, you mentioned about
yeah, call me Charles,
being,
Hajit.
okay, sure, just uh, taking a person to the higher level of competency. I wonder if, we have felt doing something without fear.
Mm,
Most of us, we live in fear. There's a lot of fear in our lives. Fear of losing something, fear of losing wealth, fear. If I were to list down in my life, it's
yeah.
going to be like 20, 30 fears.
I've got 40.
You already listed it out, yeah?
Yeah, no, because you're spot on. Fear seems to be part of our DNA.
Exactly.
And
So,
yeah,
so can you try to recall doing something without fear? Try to recall doing a work without fear. My goodness, your competency, the quality of the work that you do is going to be at a higher level. Fear is the one that is driving us down. We fear the boss is going to be commenting on the report I'm doing. I fear that it's going to be rejected. All anticipation. So we are no longer living in the present. We are living in the future. We are time travelers. Always tell
right.
people, you don't need time machine. We are all time travelers. Now itself, we are fearing for the future. What's going to happen tomorrow? Anticipation, anticipation, anticipation. So a simple thing about being present, being aware, or being living
Mindfulness
in mindfulness again.
is in the present. And there is power
Exactly.
in the present, as I always say.
Correct.
And
And the reason why we are called human being is a present tense.
right.
It is not a past tense or a future tense.
Correct, correct. That's no, no, spot on, spot on. Because there are so many crippling things that happen around us. I mean, for example, finance. I
Yeah,
think finance is the biggest snare that can really pull a person down because you don't feel that they're all limiting beliefs, constraints
yeah,
that keep the mind down before it can explode. You see, and that's why I believe that this program of ergogenics and ergonomics coming into it and epigenetics and all that is to get you to a higher level of performance in life. And because I feel that creativity, curiosity, all these are elements that make your life beautiful.
yes,
And
yes.
and I want to congratulate you, and because you are minefield, and it's like stepping into a minefield. Now, having done all these programs, you
Uh-huh.
just got about another 10-15 minutes left. What is the most commonest you have come across when it comes to mindfulness, when it comes to the mind in the
Mhm,
marketplace? Which
mhm.
has been the most commonest challenging point for you when you're dealing with all these people who sign up and enter all these programs? Say your top three. Where's the struggle?
Um, you're talking about, let's say, a coaching program or let's say a corporate training program, right?
Right.
I would say actually the buy-in process itself. Because if somebody believes that they need to upskill themselves, they need to actually, in other words, being aware that, hey, in order for me to perform better, for whatever reason, maybe for my own likelihood to earn more income, if they can be aware of that to get a buy-in internally, that itself launch you to the next level of
Okay,
competency. That,
okay. Let me stop
yeah,
you there. Buying into the concept.
that's right.
I think
Buying
you're,
into
yeah, perfect. I mean, I
buying
think you're right. Buying into that whole concept that they can move to another level. Is that right?
exactly. So we have people who are sent for corporate training programs. They are sitting there, they are listening, they are saying that, oh, okay, I agree with you and all that. But at the back of the mind, the so-called subconscious mind is saying that, okay, I'm here just to fulfill my KPI, my training KPI.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
So,
yeah, well, this is
and
what I got. I got a booming signboard here that says, "Why aren't people working smarter?" You see, because when you
yeah,
work smart, you live smart, you produce smart.
true. Yeah.
And yeah. So what's the cause of it? Is it
And
because of just lack of just sheer laziness or what?
it is, no, you see, I look at laziness as a byproduct. It is not the main characteristics of people. We need to understand why people are lazy. So why people become lazy? Because a belief system. They believe there's no purpose for me to pick up that plate or for me to do something. Therefore, it is a secondary nature. I become lazy.
Right.
Why they are not doing something is because belief system again. They believe it is not necessary. So we need to invoke it again. Is back to culture again. So we need to invoke the culture of performing at a higher level, whether it's through fear or whether it's through showing that the rewards of it, there are many approaches. But we need to invoke into people that, hey, we need to go at a higher level, get a buy-in, and then they themselves will drive. So rather than push factor, we use the pull factor.
Absolutely.
Just
Absolutely.
like some of the doors, I believe some of the doors in your clinic, they open inwardly. The more you push, the more it will not open.
Right.
The
Right.
the heart to the door opens inwardly.
Powerful. No. This
Yeah,
is
not to the heart.
marketplace talk. You see,
Yeah,
this
that's
is
right.
why when I came up with this whole MindFlow ergonomics program was to take you from. I mean, everybody is intellectual. They're all outstanding. The question is, do you want to be a creative genius?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to be creating things that put you to another higher level? Now, that is
Mm,
the buyout that you are talking about.
that's
Because
right. That's right.
today, have you heard of Robert Boyle? Robert Boyle
Yes, yes.
was the father of chemistry 350, 60 years. We all studied his Boyle's apparatus, Boyle's
Yes.
law in school and all that. And he wrote a 20-point wish list, Harjit. 20 points. He
Fantastic.
wanted science to feed these 20 points. And
Mhm.
number one was the prolongation of life. And number
Wonderful.
two was the recovery of youthfulness. And I believe that today's science, right? I mean, brain life, brain health. They're
Mm,
talking about mental health when we should be talking about mental wealth. There is wealth in the mind.
correct.
And if we can invest in that, can you imagine how powerful we will be? Better human
Yes,
beings, man. I would not have been
correct.
so traumatic to my children. I would have brought them up. I would have brought them up without the hand going up. But
True. Correct. Correct.
you know what I
Don't
mean?
worry. We all have our regrets in life.
Yeah, and the biggest regret which this girl Bronnie Ware wrote about, she's a palliative girl about the regrets of the dying was number one is living the life for another person. You see,
Fantastic.
when we all get burnt out and we all get tired out. I came out for 2 years and sat down and went through this whole program of mindfulness because I
Mhm.
was literally exhausted just operating and operating, but I lost myself in the process. And so
Mhm.
now I find that when people say work less and they're doing master class, I say, this is crazy, man, to sign up for a class that tells you that you can work less and achieve more.
Yeah.
You want to work smart.
True.
You want to
Yeah.
work smart. It's about smartness, in what we do.
Correct.
So listen, Harjit, I mean, we are coming to a time where you're such a gift, and I want to just really,
Everybody. Everybody's a gift, Charles.
no, but what you
Everybody's a
have
gift.
learned, what you're bringing to the marketplace, the buy-in. Okay, that's number one. How to sell a program to people to catch them to go to the next place. Get out of that comfort zone.
Yes. Correct.
You know.
We can only share the techniques, we can share the knowledge and all that, but you can take the horse to the water, but the horse need to drink the water itself.
Right,
So
right.
that is one, get a buy-in. Number two is that they believe that there's nothing more to learn, especially those who are senior in terms of maturity. age
Yeah.
and all that. Probably some of them near the retirement age. So they say, okay, there's nothing more to learn. Why should I? I'm nearing the retirement age.
Yeah.
That's where that's where things get a bit more complicated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. They are the ones who sign up to the stock market how to make money and lose money in the deal.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and the third one.
Third one is very interestingly about the realization of what they are capable of doing. A lot of people have this limiting belief. They always have this limiting belief that I don't think so, I'm good enough, I don't think I can do this. Whether you send me to a certain program or whether you equip me with a certain skills, I don't think I have in order to be this. So one big challenge is the limiting belief. That's the reason why I incorporate some of the challenging activities, for example, glass walking, fire walking, arrow breaking. It's actually not to show off their capabilities. No, we're actually there to reboot the mind, to shock the mind. Because the mind, especially the conscious mind, it is believing that, hey, I don't think I'm able to do this. I don't think I'm capable of doing this. All these limiting beliefs playing. So when you do this so-called extreme activity, which they thought they could never do, it's sort of like reboot the mind. There's a vacuum during that moment. That is what we are looking for.
Powerful.
During that during that vacuum moment, that emptiness is where we put in the new values, new beliefs. Therefore, the person is transformed. We need to shock the brain. We need to shock the mind. Otherwise, forever remain in the comfort zone.
This is this is some jumpstart leads that we have to go and get. And I mean, I think we have to jumpstart every moment. And it's and I think at the end of the day is looking forward to the next moment in life.
Yes, yes.
Because if we look forward, because before you can even blink, it's already in the past. That
Exactly.
moment is gone. And so if we can cultivate a culture of ethics in ourselves,
Yeah.
where we are always looking for the next moment to be a beautiful moment, it will
Yes.
wipe out all those memories that are scared to go for the next one, scared to enter to the room, scared to see the boss, all this kind of stuff that goes on. And I
That's
think
right.
just loving life itself is already generating energy that
Yes.
keeps us going, because
Sure.
it's amazing. Anyway, so on that note, we have talked about a multitude of things from emotions to self calibration to self mastery, and at the end of at the end of the day, you must be managing yourself pretty well.
You'll be surprised sometimes we also, after having all this knowledge and all that, we tend to, sometimes the amygdala take over also. Yeah, hijacked by the
True,
amygdala.
true. Yeah, he's like this guy who wanted to stop smoking, and he went and bought these 20 books on how to stop smoking, and he gave up reading.
Oh my, that's a good one.
And but it's
Yeah,
been it's been a fantastic conversation on thinking hats. You can have all the hats in the world,
definitely,
but
definitely. It's
but
a,
what
it's a, it's an ongoing journey actually, Charles.
it is,
Ongoing
it
journey.
is, it is.
Yeah,
The question is that we have got so many masks that we wear,
correct.
and it's a question of getting the courage to take off
Yeah.
the mask and start from the beginning.
And like the third challenge, sorry, let me just revisit the third
Sure.
challenge that you asked me about being aware of our capability. It reminds me of somebody, sometimes they tell me that, Harjit, we are only using 5% of the brain, 5% or 10% of the brain. I disagree with that. I say we are utilizing the whole brain, but we are not realizing the full capability of it. Because when you say we are only using 5% of the brain, it's like you're driving a car. When you're driving a car, are you saying that I'm only using 5% of the brain? No, you are driving the whole car. Only thing you have not realized the potential of the car. You probably don't know how to do drifting or maybe parking with a I don't know,
Yeah.
short-sighted kind of
Sure.
thing.
Sure. That's right.
You have
Powerful.
not realized. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we are utilizing the whole entire brain at the moment. Only thing we have not realized its other capabilities.
Correct. That's why
Yeah.
we can all own a BMW. lah.
Fantastic. Yes.
And when there's a brain and the wiring and the mind coming
And the
in,
mind all connected.
you're all connected, and they just want to connect with you. So now, for those who might be listening in later on, how do they connect with you? How can they reach out
I'm
to you?
I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. You can
Mm-hmm.
check me out under Dr. Harjit Sidhu. Also on Facebook, uh, Harjit Singh Sidhu. Uh, Other than that, Instagram and all that, not so active yet due to lack of time.
Sure, sure. That's right. Well, that's powerful. So, on that note, Harjit, I started off with this quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, who says, "Do not go to the path that you know what is happening, but go instead where there is no path and leave a trail." And I
Fantastic.
think that makes life exciting when we are always
Yeah,
trailblazers. And that's where the mind comes in, and always refreshing to get into
yes,
a place where you've never been before and see what the mind can do.
yes.
And get there. So, on that note, Harjit, I want to thank you and love you for your work, and hope to catch up with you when I come to Kuala Lumpur, and we
Definitely.
have another mind session and another brain talk. And,
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you
my
so much, Charles, for having me today.
my pleasure, our pleasure. So for all of those who have just joined in or those tuned in and you have not finished your lunch, this is better than lunch. This is brain talk with the brain man himself. And so Dr. Harjit Sidhu is available in Kuala Lumpur. You can get him on LinkedIn. And from all of us here, we just want to thank you for joining us. And I hope that you enjoyed this hard talk conversation. And as usual, we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.